Jay-Z allegedly went to crazy lengths to sabotage R. Kelly during their joint tour. One time, Jay-Z even went as far as to have R. Kelly pepper sprayed at Madison Square Garden. I remember that shit. Jay-Z, they had a tour, and it was called the Best of Both Worlds Tour. It was Jay-Z and R. Kelly. And at first, when the tour first started, everything was fine. Somehow, some jealousy between who came out first or who ended the show, it got crazy. So then they start battling with each other. And I remember R. Kelly getting pepper sprayed in New York, and nobody knew what the hell, why, what, when, where, what the fuck. So when you think about all this shit, where the fuck does this leave us? Because we just getting all this information. We don't know what the fuck to believe, but we know this shit is wild, and we trying to make sure niggas are held accountable. So whether these stories are true or not, which I can confirm a few of them. The ones I know about, I'll confirm. The ones I don't know, I tell you, I don't know about that shit. But they do shed light, whether they're true or not. These stories shed light on a system that seems designed to exploit and control its superstars. As fans and consumers, we have a role to play. Now, do we keep supporting these powerful figures, whether questioning their actions or not? Or do we demand transparency and accountability? And let's not forget about the survivors, like people like Rymir, who just want to know who their fucking father is. I don't know if Jay-Z the father, but I know he won't take the test. I know they got the same nose and ears. I know the mother was underage, which would give Jay-Z motive to not want to be proven to be the father. I know all that, but I can't say Jay-Z is the father because he won't take the test. And Rymir just wants the truth. He's been fighting for paternity. He has even lost a mother during this process. He has literally lost his mother while trying to find out who his real father is. Jay-Z, take the fucking test, man. Damn. It gets to a point where it's like, all right, man, just take the test. So now that brings us to Tony Buzbee, the lawyer that is suing Jay-Z and Diddy, representing all type of lawsuit and freaky. Tony Buzbee handling all these freaky charges. And he had been quiet for a while. Jay-Z had came out to get the 13-year-old case with the 13-year-old where it says him and Diddy raped her. Well, Jay-Z was trying to get that dismissed, and Buzbee had went quiet. Well, he's back speaking now. And Jay-Z might be cooked after this. I'm telling you. Now, if you don't know, Tony Buzbee is representing Diddy. He's not representing Diddy. Sorry about that. He's representing victims, alleged victims for Diddy, against Diddy and Jay-Z. So now let's get into the heart of that case. There's a Jane Doe who's being represented by Tony Buzbee, who accused Jay-Z and Diddy, Mohawk Diddy, of sexually assaulting her in an incident that's supposed to have took place back in 2000. This is some heavy shit, y'all. Tune in, lock in. I need you to lock into this one. Now, Jane Doe says she was 13 years old at the time, and she was drugged and assaulted at an after party following MTV Music Awards. Of course, Jay-Z's team has denied it. But here's the wild part. Buzbee is accusing Jay-Z's team of using intimidation tactics, not just against Jane Doe, but against his own law firm. So Buzbee says that people tied to Jay-Z have harassed his employees and clients and did anything they can to derail the fucking case. So let's talk strategy. Because this case is like a high stakes game of legal chess, Jay-Z's team is trying to pick apart Jane Doe's story by pointing to inconsistencies in her account. They've even brought up an NBC interview where she supposedly gave conflicting details. But that ain't it, y'all. They came back strong. Here's a key point that Tony Buzbee made to combat all that shit. Tony Buzbee said, when trauma happens, memory can be hazy. He's leaning on the research of this shit and legal standards that allow for some discrepancies, especially in cases involving childhood abuse. Childhood abuse. So while Jay-Z's team is focused on these minor gaps, Buzbee is keeping the spotlight on the bigger picture. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Buzbee team says they done their homework. They've looked into the events of that night, and they got evidence that they say backs up Jane Doe's story. As a matter of fact, they have police and detectives that are backing up this young lady's story. Now, for example, they investigated the 2000 MTV Music Video Awards and Jay-Z's whereabouts that evening. Jay-Z's lawyers tried to use photos of him at an after party to discredit Jane Doe's claims, but Buzbee argues those photos don't cover the entire night. Basically, he's saying, okay, Jay-Z was there at that time, but where was Jay-Z the rest of the evening? And that's a valid question. Now, let me go back to that, y'all. So, and this is what I thought when it first happened. Jay-Z and his attorney tried to use a picture at Jay-Z at a party as proof that Jay-Z was not at the other party. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, up one picture from a 10-hour night or however long you were hanging out, one picture don't show that you were here and couldn't have been there. Like, I thought that was stupid from the beginning. And that's why I say sometimes I feel like I'm an alien, because it's like I'll be looking at stuff like this has to be common sense. And don't nobody else be screaming about it. So I'm like, fuck it. But then here go Tony Buzbee bringing up the same point that I was kind of thinking at the time. I mean, I don't have a dog in the fight. I speak up for victims. I bring awareness. But if a defendant isn't guilty, I mean, I don't want nobody going down for nothing they didn't do. But at the same time, what Jay-Z was saying wasn't making no sense. So they go on to the rest of the evening. They got retired police and detectives co-signing this story. Now, this is where things get extra spicy. Buzbee is accusing Jay-Z's team of crossing the line from defense into intimidation. He says they've tried to discredit not just Jane Doe, but him and his entire firm. And Buzbee, he ain't playing that shit. He going in. He's called their attempts factually and legally meritless. In plain English, he's saying y'all have no case and y'all fucking know it. He also accuses Jay-Z's camp of using scare tactics to avoid discovery. For those who don't know, discovery is the phase where both sides share evidence, and if Jay-Z's team is so eager to avoid it, you kind of gotta wonder why. Why is Jay-Z's team so desperately trying to avoid discovery? I, I'll leave that up for you to decide. But for Jane Doe,